As a lifelong resident of a low-income community in the Bronx, I was familiar with environmental racism long before I realized it. Some of my closest childhood friends were frequently hospitalized for asthma attacks. And asthma was so common among my classmates in elementary school and middle school that people would often compare inhalers. Oh, I used to have that one, I never liked it, etc. During recess, it was common to hear people in between downs between playing football or when they needed a break playing tag. On the bright side, whenever someone left their pump at home, there would be a dozen people who offered to share their own. When I started high school, I learned that it wasn't common at all to know so many people who have asthma. It was quickly apparent that barely any of my white classmates, who were mostly from the Upper West Side, the Upper East Side, and Riverdale, had asthma. It was also painfully obvious that though we grew up in the same city only a few miles apart, we almost lived completely different lives. My classmates, who have been born and raised in the middle class to wealthy areas of the city, could almost never relate to the experience of not having access to affordable, healthy food in your neighborhood, or not knowing when your parent will be able to buy something such as a video game that wasn't a necessity. They frequently talk about all the other states and countries that they have visited or plan to visit. Now, why was that? The main cause for our drastically different standards of living and dramatically different health outcomes is a capitalist society. A system based on individual profit for the benefit of the few to the detriment of the rest of us. Starting with white flight in the 1950s, when the vast majority of the working and middle-class white people left the Bronx for the suburb or other communities, the owners of capital have seen the Bronx and its people as disposable when they care to see us at all. This is something that we share in common with people all over the world, from indigenous populations who have been stripped of their land since the first European settlers arrived, to the low-income warehouse workers that build the wealth of giants such as Amazon. In the 1970s, landlords saw it as more profitable to burn down buildings in the Bronx rather than continue to provide residents with a home. If you speak to some people who were alive at that time, they'll tell you how they had shoes by their bed ready to go if the building started to burn. The Bronx was not important to the owners of capital because they could extract more wealth from us being homeless than paying the landlord low rents. The impact of capital not finding the Bronx worth investing in has continued to this day. The city and corporations use our boroughs to store many diesel shipping and garbage trucks that both continue to climate change and harm our lungs, contributing to the Bronx having some of the highest rates of asthma and asthma hospitalization in the US. Because private corporations fund medical research and asthma is by and large a chronic health condition experienced by poor people, research gets severely underfunded because the private corporations do not stand to profit enough from curing or improving this dangerous condition. Nothing epitomizes this more than what investment firm Goldman Sachs asked in a recent report. Is curing patients a sustainable business model? Capitalist society only cares about it to the extent that it can exploit us for our labor and to subsidize the lavish lifestyles of the ruling class. Corporations do not find it profitable to provide healthy food to low-income people, so the Bronx is criminally underserved when it comes to providing nutritious food. Though the Bronx houses in the New York City Terminal Produce Market, which provides fruits and vegetables to over 22 million people within 50 miles of the market. The 15th congressional district encompassing the Bronx has one of the highest rates of hunger in the United States. That people in the city in the richest country in the world, richest country in the world, can experience hunger in proximity to such vast wealth exemplifies the problems of capitalist society. We know the capitalist society has been intentionally negligent of the needs of the people and will continue to do so as long as it exists. These vast systemic problems can be traced back to the role of the private market, and it is why we must fight for a socialist world that caters to the needs of the people and the planet rather than individual profit. It is only under socialism that these vast disparities can be addressed. All power to the people. I wanted to mention a couple comments. Yeah. Basically, to connect the same thing that you said that was happening to New Orleans is happening right now to Puerto Rico. And in an environmental forum like this, it's not. A lot of the capitalists always want to blame this general climate change, but we can see that climate change doesn't affect all of us equally.
Right.
And in the way we organize society, you can see it pretty clearly in the Caribbean, where some of the islands, like Puerto Rico, the Dominican Republic, and Haiti, Hispaniola, are just living under the hyper-exploitative imperialist rule. And, for example, this Canadian company called Barrick Gold just goes to the Dominican Republic, obviously with a really favorable government contract where they just get to reap all of the profit and have no responsibility to clean up afterwards. There's been a struggle against that in the Dominican Republic, because you go and see the rivers, and like I've seen pictures of them, and it's just like completely just orange. Just they don't clean up. They just take the resources and just leave. And same thing they're doing in Haiti. And obviously, when we get hit with a natural disaster like a hurricane or an earthquake or something, the people that suffer are the poor working class, usually black. And there's been just tragedies like what happened in Haiti with the hurricane after the earthquake, and how the UN troops, what they did was just to spread cholera there and kill a bunch of people. And Cuba is organized differently. So when Cuba gets a hurricane, people don't die. They're really, the resources are being used in favor of society, of humanity, and they prioritize science, and they prioritize like a direct response that helps everyone avoid the fate of the hurricane. And so we get like one of the wealthiest nations like the United States, and in their state, which is Florida, hit by the same hurricane that hit Cuba, and like Florida has more people die. And yeah, and last thing I wanted to mention was something that Isabella and I have been talking recently, because we found out with this Bayou pipeline being built in United Human Nation land in Louisiana, there was just a regular fair, but were like tourist ones, and the people struggling against the BPP are just put up like a stand there, and we're just like talking to people and handing out pins and stuff, giving out the website. And one of them got attacked, charged by the cops, and arrested. And this is a pipeline that's been built illegally, but the police in New Orleans attacked the person just talking about it, not even doing any kind of direct disruption of the pipeline or anything, and got arrested. So we were researching, and there was this bill passed in late March. I forgot the name of the bill.
It's House Bill 727.
House Bill 727. That criminalizes not only directly disrupting any kind of pipeline construction, but also just talking about opposing it.
Wow.
So this person got arrested and is facing up to 5 years in jail, and what's the fine?
It's up to like, I don't know about his in particular, like it could be up to $10,000.
Up to $10,000 just for talking about opposing a pipeline. And I don't know that we've had this level of, I think it's unprecedented, this kind of like just talking about something gets you in jail and up to 5 years. And it's on the levels of the repression the BDS activists are facing just for like boycotting. So yeah, I wanted to bring this up and make that connection.